And what happens is when you preach a youngster, he will not actually use that. Yes. He will not accept it. So what they did was, they used as a, in fact, if you look at the core message of the communication objective, last 3 slides only use that. Last 3, they talked about the car motorists, they talked about crossing the lines and all. So what happened was, first and foremost was very important that when you have a young audience, how your communication becomes engaging. And we presume that today, on social media, there are a lot of young people. Young, when you look at young recruiters, young job seekers, those are there. So if I had to use a social media for that matter, or if I had to club recruiting and social media as combined, as a one entity, I have to have common denominator that how do I engage. Because preaching really is not going to work. Because what happens is, if you look at that, if you have a humor coming in, that's what they used. Your cognitive ability to reject that goes down, and that's the reason we always try to look at those communications which are very, very humorous. We all look Fevicol ads, we all enjoy those things, and we look forward to those kind of ads. Because what happens if you don't reject that? So that's what it has happened. That's what they've shown. They've shown the content which was very engaging. It had a possibility reasons of getting viral. And that's how they've used, and they were able to show that they were able to see after this campaign in the next 6 months, they had a possibility that the number of accidents went down. Okay, so these are the 2-3 examples if you use where they've used engaging content to attract the young audience. And that's what when we look at in terms of a recruiting industry. Possibly that is going to be the future when you look at the arena of job changes, or when you look at the entire recruitment by itself, that is going to change. So where are we now? We talk about this statistics. I'm sure this statistics keeps on changing every day. By now also if you look at this statistics keeps on changing. You have which are the major drivers? Yes, Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, YouTube. You have this kind of 3 hours of video on per minute, so that's why you have which could be very potently used. There was statistics which showed that YouTube is currently not used by organizations as a good employer branding technique, because what happens is you would actually use that to see a lot of videos, because a lot of pre-screening of that by candidates would happen. So you have all this statistics. Very interesting statistics by itself is happening, that all these are accessed through mobile, which itself is changing the entire gamut in which you are looking at. So what is a digital transition? We're talking about 24/7 by 365 days, and 360 degrees. It's not around. You're not individually connected. You have forums like Quora coming in, and which talks about a lot of opinion. I was actually looking at a lot of discussions happening Quora, which influences opinion. So there was one discussion which was happening on Quora, which was that what happens to a person who's going for a suicide, or what happens, so there are a lot of discussions of this kind of happening, which actually leads. So imagine if somebody has to take. So if I have to join an organization today, let's say if I want to join, let's say I'm just naming an organization. Like if I want to join a Reliance, I will just put a message on for that discussion, an initial discussion. Okay, how is to work in Reliance Infocom in Ahmedabad? That's it. I'm sure a lot of threads would build in. So what you need to do as a sensitive HR manager of an organization, I need to be very, very sensitive that what organization build up experience of people around that is taken care. Because if I don't manage that well, people are going to talk, and that is going to impact of me for people applying to me. Or they may talk about individuals also. So if I had to hire, let's say, a person called Rajesh, I will just go and actually see what Rajesh is doing on his Facebook, or see Rajesh, how Rajesh is around. Like one of the factors we see today happening for a lot of hiring in terms of you go and just check up the social profile. You will actually relate what are the kind of social posts they do. They must have done which are very, very unstructured. But what happens is it gives you, because you are doing, because somehow what you have done, you never thought that my Facebook post is related to my career. but it could be a determinant of you getting a job. So how does I fit in? Who is a clear interface? If you look at a recruitment firm today, is a clear interface between a job seeker and a job provider. So you need to be very, very clearly cognizant of this fact that digital transition is changing the entire gamut of recruitment. There's changes happening in terms of the way people are applying, the way people are searching for jobs, the way people are looking to hire people, the way people are looking to open up the openings. You know, like good old days, if I had to find a job, I would go to my friends and ask. Today, there are sources. So the entire gamut would change. So how, as a serious player, I can have my organization strategies to tune into this kind of changing environment? That is what I think the question facing to your organization or you as an individual, as an integral part of that organization. So we're looking at, and these are very, very digital business, social media marketing are, you know, been talked about very, very interchangeably. You know, when you talk about, these are, so we need to understand, are the same or different, or we, digital marketing, in fact, if you look at the entire gamut of these things are the digital marketing, it has been around last 2 decades, very much prominent in last 1 decade it has been. And if you look at the social media marketing, it's a subset of the digital marketing. It's one of the set in which the digital marketing would happen. Okay, so if you look at the social media marketing, it will include any social media platforms. How digital marketing started? These were banner ads. So this is what Google still drives a lot of revenue in terms of the banner ads. So what will happen is it is getting more and more intelligent day by day. So if you have often while you are on the internet, you search flights from Ahmedabad to Delhi. The next time also you get in, they'll remember that you are looking for a flight between Ahmedabad to Delhi, so it will pop up. So they're becoming more and more intelligent in terms of your ability to get, because there's a lot of data around. And how companies are recruiting traditionally. When you look at traditional ways, Ascent was one. If you look at the Ascent Health today, Ascent is becoming almost merged with Times of India. It is 1 or 2 pages. Earlier it was 8 pages. You know, there were times where, you know, Ascent, 2007, 2008, Ascent Health was very strong. Now, you know, it is not seen. So what is happening? Even the size of ads in Ascents are reducing. You know, they only mention about the career page in which you have to apply. So what happens? How the companies are recruiting? One is the posting on the recruitment page. There are some new things happening in terms of your, where the companies are recruiting. So there is some changes happening on this. You may suddenly have apps where companies start recruiting it. How digital influencing recruitments. So the job market is cutthroat competition in terms of, you know, you have a single person being hired, more multiple players would happen. So, you know, you would have situations wherein you get this kind of scenarios. You have increased demand for skilled workers. Skilled workers will mean not only workers in terms of expertise, but the knowledge workers are increasing. So what will happen is they are much more engaging on these tools. So you have the demands is very different. Relationship matters more than ever today. What happens is people are coming. In fact, you know, people are, I'm sure all of you must have got this kind of mails that please endorse my skills on my LinkedIn profile. Please endorse. You know, there are phone calls happening today. People are calling and then they're saying, kindly endorse me on my LinkedIn page. So what happens is, if I had to recruit somebody, or X person has to recruit somebody, they'll go to a LinkedIn page. So you see entire gamut or entire racket of things happening in the way your profiles are being built up. So, you know, you'll see much more those things happening. Forcing recruiters to engage with candidates at every touch point. So, you know, even what will happen is, the recruiters also discovering new ways. You know, I don't know about the experienced hires, but you know, when it comes to freshers, companies are finding multiple ways to engage in youngster. You know, what they do is, you know, they are giving luring offers. You know, in terms of earlier it was only, you know, you're giving some joining bonus or something else. But now there's giving times where, you know, when a student is entering into a college, they're giving a lot of times to spend time with the companies. So they're engaging. So they're finding out various ways and means in which they would engage, and possibly your touch points with your mobile, there are much more. I think competitive pressure in hiring, definitely the time today, if I say, And anybody says for that matter, if somebody says that I've been into an organization almost a decade, almost 5 years, earlier it was decade, but if somebody says that I've been into organization 5 years, people start doubting him. They start, that you are useless creature on the, because you could not scout for any kind of opportunity. So there are very, very competitive pressures. So you see the statistics going around, and people are talking reasonably good if you work for 2 years kind of thing. So in this kind of things, what will happen is the turnover of job changing or the job market is actually, the cycle is much more rotated fast. So it's a big opportunity when I talk about in terms of recruitment potential, but also you need to look at, as a serious player in the industry, how to address this issue. And I'm sure that why employee leaves organization, there are few factors. These are the surveys which were done by LinkedIn, and in fact LinkedIn has a feature of talent source, which and that's a premium account membership which enables you, and they have been doing a lot of surveys in order to influence the market. So they have listed down few areas like higher compensation, better title, all those kind of things. I'm sure you have a lot of engaging content. Like we keep on getting mails like how do Google workplaces look like. You see all that, the beds and the gardens and the cycles and all around, which we do. And I'm sure there are companies. There are companies which talk about, I'm listed in great places of work, or I'm listed the best employer surveys. So suddenly you'll find the role of the great places of work organization, Heavits, who are doing compensation surveys, have suddenly gone up. And these kind of endorsements are really working to get you the right employment. Nearly 9 out of 10 job seekers. I remember 2 decades back when we were looking for employment. That was a time when we were in the early market. Even if you had an email ID on your name, was actually becoming a reason for your resume getting shortlisted. So that was good enough. That was showing that you are progressive by itself. So we had a concept of, like I did not have a mail ID, but my friend has a mail ID. So my resume will have his mail ID. So it's like a PP phone number. So I have his mail and I will keep on calling him. Yaar, mail pe mail aaya kya? So what happened is, today a prospective candidate applying, his health, you have entire medical reports like, you have whether your LinkedIn profile, how does your Instagram looks like, or how does your Facebook, whether you're on Twitter. So when you look at job seekers, they're almost in at least 9 locations. That's what the statistic is. But more challenging part is getting those people who are not on the active job search list. I think that would be the kind of thing. This was the kind of which has been used by companies. This is again the survey by LinkedIn did the survey, and they did with an independent agency. Obviously, they are coming out highest. Today LinkedIn is very prominently known in terms of, but the fact of matter is, even Facebook kind of media is rising in terms of influencing recruiter decision. Even Twitter today, even the other things are rising in terms of your potential sources of recruitment. That's another story where in India how it has been utilized, or at least in Ahmedabad. Like I often get LinkedIn message that I sell servers, can I come and meet you? So I saw your LinkedIn profile, can I add myself? Or I know, like people, taking the offbeat advantage. In Indian market is known to use, the best way, so they have you actually make lassi out of washing machines, so you can actually use a lot of, the best usage of the alternate usage we are the best known. So still it will continue, but the benefit would be how you become the first runner. How you become first runner as an organization, how you become as the front runner as an organization who are giving critical service. You are all recruiters while you're interacting with them. So, can you look at your health? I would want you to do an assessment. Where do you stand on all these factors? How much your LinkedIn? LinkedIn poorly describes. When you log in into LinkedIn, they give very religiously that your profile is now 65% complete. That 35% creates a lot of problem. Because it's very easy to reach up to 65 or 70% because it captures all your demographic details, all your phone details, all your past education. But you suddenly realize that in that 30 to 35% is what your skills are coming. Your additional thing, what are work you have done, what are the kind of endorsement. And what happens is, and we have our pressures on, like when I look at most of the profiles, we were looking at what is the kind of health of the profile. What happens is, it has reasons that I don't get endorsement. So if I go for endorsement to him, he'll say you endorse me. So it's not and this doesn't happen in isolation. We are living in that kind of environment. We are living possibly in that kind of environment where we are not very appreciative. Because if I assume, as a boss, I assume that if I start appreciating him, tomorrow he'll ask for more salary, tomorrow he'll ask for a lot of other benefits, so I should not appreciate. And I cannot publicly appreciate. So my boss will always be apprehensive that I should not appreciate my fellow on LinkedIn. Because what happens tomorrow? My boss's boss will ask, "Arey, तुम अपने लोगों को appreciate करते रहते?" So I think there is a lot of cultural embargoes when you're looking at this digital kind of things happening. So when you're looking at, you need to look at how are you there at LinkedIn, what health you are there. Maybe you're 65% or 70% or 100%. If you achieve 100%, good, and I think endorsement is one of the factors, and you will really struggle to do that. How are you doing on Facebook? So, and if you're looking as an organizational strategy, you really have to come out of your holiday destination. We were doing an interesting, we were still ongoing with that research, and I would just take a liberty to at least share in this room that we're looking at a few of the profiles of the people and what is the kind of posts they're coming. The preliminary data collection shows most of the people have shared on Facebook about the new cars, about their abroad visits they've been, or most of the time, the anniversaries and the birthdays, suddenly I'll start, appreciating my wife that we have completed 15 years, thank you for being with me, So suddenly I'll start doing that. Or suddenly I become a wisdom guru. So suddenly I pick up a social issue and start endorsing that. Like recently the death of the soldier, you suddenly become a wisdom guru. You start addressing the social problems. So these are the kind of things which happen, and these are pressures. Whether you want to do it, whether you doesn't want to do it, how the things would change in next few years. You need to have vision. When you're talking about vision of an organization, do you have vision for yourself, how you are going to be on Facebook? Or I like what Anirban was saying, that most of the time, we are driven by the kind of activity flow. So Facebook also we are driven. I did not realize till the time I had some 700 friends on Facebook. I was just going and logging into the Facebook and confirm everything. So it was only post 700 that I realized there's something what I'm doing. But then you suddenly realize that, and because what happens is, when you're representing an educational institute, there's a lot of social pressure on you. It's not only what you do at the institute, but where you go for movies, where you go to shop, because you don't know who else is looking at you. Because there are students. And so we realize that our profession that we know maximum people. So suddenly you'll have 2,000 people are looking at you. So what happens is, so we need to be understanding what kind of friends will we make. So I am sure that is also going to be important while you're looking at this. So while you're looking as representing a recruiter, because tomorrow your trust as a recruiter, when you go to meet the HR managers or when you pitch in the companies, I'm sure they are going to evaluate you and your firm by what is you are there, how are you there on the other parts. We were just making a very interesting debate in our economic discussions, that what happens whether Facebook will exist next 50 years, 100 years, or next 20 years. And believe me, when we're talking to the youngsters, that difficulty is in talking about 5 years also. We started from 100 years. And good brands exist for very long time. When you talk about Coca-Cola today is not because it advertises very good, but they've done the smaller things in a very detailed manner. So I think that is what, when you're looking to take up a new strategy of being digital, today what you do will have implications down the line for 20 years. Because somebody is going to easily look at the timeline feature will give what you were as your health before 20 years back. So you need to be little longer plan what happens on all these platforms. These are again statistics where they've used various modes to have the different value chains of the kind of work they've done. again, which of the following you have hired through? Yes, these are some of the international facts. The point was when I was looking at this, I failed to get some, yes, because of the positive time also I could not get, but I really failed to have this kind of statistics generated for Indian market. A could be reason where this syndicated surveys are not done, people are not very open on sharing this kind of information. B is they're not, it's still not emerged as a big phenomenon. So if it is not emerged as a big phenomena, all the more good reasons for getting into it. Okay, so these were the facts. So what do you look for a candidate in social network? These are the following things. So possibly if you become a thought leader into doing some of the activities which are mentioned, which is an emerging practice in other economies. And what happens is today you see a different kind of jobs coming in. You had entire retail industry is changing. Today you don't need maybe the formats will change to some extent. It may not change to a greater extent in India because of the sheer size. And still in India, what you look at is you have a big deviation of things happening. You have a very robust model existing. You have very conventional things happening. So you have both extremes. You have a Taj Hotel at one place. You have a Dharavi Jhopdi also at another stage. So all the models will exist. You still have a lot of time. But what happens if you are an early entrant into doing these practices? This would really lead better margins, better quality of life as a part of the recruitment curve, and better in terms of you are able to early participate in the value chain. The more early you get into that, I think your interaction with the client happens more, because today one of the best thing is what has happened is if I do a good work, I don't need to go and talk to 10 people. It is all there. I can just share, and the automation helps me out that. And that's what I would feel that the social media recruiting would take to the next level when you are participating in recruitment industry. Because ultimately, I think the biggest need when you look at today in any organization, as a head of the organization, I tell you, one of the most things I spend time is on getting the right people, or getting the postmortem exercise of having a wrong person there and getting him out. I think that's the most difficult, because you get into legal cases, you get into a lot of other things of getting a wrong person and asking him to leave, him or her to leave. No general bias about that. So what happens is, I think that's what you need to look at in terms of your strategic vision. The consumer side companies have really done pretty well in terms of harnessing this medium. We saw examples where unrelated industries are talking about this, industries like Volvo and those talking about. So yes, if this is the key thing, I really appreciate that Amit, you started thinking on this direction, and I'm sure that you could possibly help to craft this vision forward. I sincerely imagine that my interaction to look at this industry, at least in social media recruiting in terms of, was only this day when I got this brief, but I've been witnessing the kind of potential the other industries have harped upon. I think this is a time for you to take up, maybe I'll have much more things to come back on this, or what is the kind of emerging practices are emerging out of it, and how the industry is shaping on that. So that's what I feel that this, you should jump on the social media wagon, and never to be late. And I think people are looking forward to you in terms of, what happens is, today, as an individual, you remember your teachers and the person who helped you to get jobs. So the HR manager may forget you, but the person whom you got the job, he will not forget you in life. He'll come back to you again and again. And I think one of the ways, suddenly when you are in crisis, you, as an executive, suddenly you're in a crisis, you search for that executive who got you the job. So I think you're doing a wonderful job. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.